So there is a new leak making the rounds that talks about when the PlayStation 5 is going to be fully revealed next year, when the next state of play is that is going to have the release date trailer for Last of Us Part 2, and what exactly is going on with Ghost of Tsushima. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And with all these leaks and rumors, take everything with a grain of salt, because I certainly am. This comes to us from 4chan, and you know with 4chan, sometimes they get it completely right, and other times they just make stuff up. So I kind of wanted to go through this, see if there's any validity to it, and give my thoughts on it. Now, how all this leaked, somebody got a hold of a marketing email from PlayStation that talked about the next state of play, which is coming in November, and that there are 3 big games that are going to be talked about there. One being Death Stranding, which will feature the launch trailer. Of course, Death Stranding launches a week after that, which is November 8th. It also will feature Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but probably more important to most people is that will feature the release date trailer for The Last of Us Part 2, and in this email, it says that it will be releasing May of 2020. Now, I find that a little bit interesting because I did a video a couple weeks ago. There was some strong suggestions that the game was going to be releasing in February. Jason Schreier talked about it. A voice actress on Last of Us 2 had kind of let it slip. So it'd be pretty interesting to go from February to May. Although, doesn't really matter. I'm going to play the game day one regardless. But that's not all that's really mentioned here, right? It says that Ghost of Tsushima is not going to be at the state of play. And in fact, it is being held off for the PlayStation Meeting 2020. And this is where we get into the PlayStation 5 part of this whole thing. So basically, this email and this guy is saying that Sony's already decided on the PlayStation Meeting 2020. It's happening on February 12th. Sony has already lined up big-time publishers like Activision, Square Enix, Ubisoft, EA, and they're basically going to blow the lid off of the PlayStation 5, what it can do, what it looks like, etc., etc., etc. I mean, we don't really know much about the PlayStation 5 at this point. I mean, Sony hasn't even confirmed that is the name. They just say the next generation PlayStation. All we know is it's going to have ray tracing, it's going to be 8K capable, it's going to have fast loading. I mean, that's what they're talking about really a lot, is the SSD that it's going to use. But other than that, we don't know much. We don't know the price. We don't know the release date. Presumably, that'll be all revealed at this PlayStation meeting. The email then goes on to talk about Ghost of Tsushima and how pretty much it's a launch game for the PlayStation 5, although still releasing on the PlayStation 4. So what do I think about all this stuff? Now, the PlayStation meeting in 2020 is pretty interesting because I've kind of been thinking that's exactly what Sony would do. They just would copy what worked with the PlayStation 4. And if you remember, the PlayStation 4 had a PlayStation meeting back in 2013. So if you're kind of looking to make this up, of course you would go and say, hey, there's going to be a meeting again in February. What's more interesting is the state of play, because if this ends up being right, if November comes and the state of play actually happens, and those 3 games are actually there, Death Stranding, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Last of Us Part 2 with the release date trailer, well, then the rest of it is obviously true. But there are a couple things that make me raise my eyebrow. Does Sony really plan out these state of play things 3 months in advance? Like, we are at August. It's August 14th as of the recording of this video. We're still 3 months away from November. Do they really have that all lined up? And the other thing that kind of makes me question it is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has a marketing deal with Xbox. Usually that means PlayStation can't market that game in any way, shape, or form. So when I saw that Star Wars was on this list, it made me question the validity of this entire thing. Now, I'm not saying it's completely false, and this guy may be just making a correct guess and it ends up being right. For all we know, you know, the PlayStation meeting will be in February, just like the PlayStation 4 one was. But something tells me this isn't exactly right, because I'm going to link this information, and you can read it for yourself. And the way it's worded, it sounds very weird. Like, this is what he has to say about Ghost of Tsushima, right? He says that the development of the game is proceeding in a more than favorable manner within the Sucker Punch Studios, but that it also has encountered considerable delays at the same time, mainly due to greater work on the technical side of the software for textures and frame rates, to favor in particular the technical upgrade that will be given by the new hardware features of the PlayStation 5. So he's basically saying, yeah, development's going good, although it's been delayed a bunch of times. That really doesn't necessarily really scream development's going good if it's actually being delayed all the time. And oh, well, they're really just focusing on textures and frame rates. And the thing is, would that even be in a marketing email? Like, do the marketing people need to know why Ghost of Tsushima is not going to be at State of Play? No, they just be like, hey, these are the games we're marketing, and that's it. It's almost like too much information. Like, you know, sometimes these leaks come along and there's just way too much information about stuff that you kind of question whether it's all real. And usually in those situations, it ends up being completely fake. You know, when he talks about the PlayStation meeting and how they first talked about in June 2019, but wasn't completed, but they identified a date and yada yada yada. Like, I'm saying, there's just so much stuff here, and I just question, is like, would Sony actually have a firm 100% locked in date? Essentially what, 6 months from now? I just kind of question it. Now, I do believe that Sony is going to do a PlayStation meeting at some point next year. I 100% believe that. And I do believe that Last of Us 2 is coming next year, obviously. March, April, May, February, they're all good choices. But the best thing about this is we don't really have that long to wait. November's going to be upon us. You know, if State of Play is exactly like it says, then you know this is all true. If State of Play comes before November, well, then you know this is all just bunk. So, in my opinion, I think this guy's just kind of guessing at certain things, using kind of, you know, previous information to make a guess, and it gets passed around. But obviously, all this kind of information here, all the details that he has about marketing emails and all this stuff, it's just too much information for me to believe. And the way it's written, I just can't buy it that this person already knows what's going on. So I'm going to say that this probably isn't real, but at the same time, I don't doubt that Last of Us 2 could come out in May, and I don't doubt for a second. In fact, I believe there'll be a PlayStation meeting sometime early next year. But with Xbox having the marketing rights to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I think you can kind of mark this one off as a fake, and it's probably somebody that didn't know that Xbox had the marketing for that game, considering Sony had the marketing for the previous Star Wars Battlefront games, actually both of them. So anyways, guys, that is what I think about this leak. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share this out on social media, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified immediately when I drop a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.